Cubans commemorate the 62nd anniversary of the proclamation of the socialist character of the revolution. Brazilian President Luis Inácio da Silva reaffirmed his proposal to create a G20 for peace in Ukraine with the participation of Latin American countries. And in Sudan, clashes between the army and the rapid support forces leave more than 70 dead and over 500 injured in the second day of fighting. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Cuba, citizens commemorate on Sunday the 62nd anniversary of the proclamation of the socialist character of the revolution that sealed the ideological course of the process of transformations that the largest of the Antilles has been promoting since January 1st, 1959. The historic corner of 23rd Avenue and 12th Street in Havana's Vedado district once again is a place to recall the glorious days of that April when Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro spoke in front of thousands of workers and farmers gathered at the central corner and proclaimed the socialist character of the revolution. This took place during the funeral honors to the victims of the cruel bombing perpetrated by U.S. airplanes against the air bases of Ciudad Libertad, San Antonio de los Baños, and Santiago de Cuba. Washington's objective was to sow terror and confusion, to neutralize the air defense capabilities and facilitate the landing of mercenary troops in order to cause a fracture in the Cuban Revolution. The President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, made a statement on the occasion of Bay of Pigs invasion commemoration through his account on the social media Twitter, where he wrote, "We remember today at the intersection of 23rd and 12th Street, the heroic day in which Fidel, together with our people, proclaimed the socialist character of the revolution. Years later, he would say, 90 miles away from that power Cuba is committing and will continue to commit, let no one doubt the sin of existence. We are here." President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, welcomed 11 new ambassadors from different countries accredited to the island. Miguel Díaz-Canel, President, accompanied by Bruno Rodriguez Barrilla, Minister of Foreign Affairs, welcomed diplomats from Uganda, Cambodia, Niger, Slovakia, Russia, Brunei, Tuvalu, Bangladesh, Seychelles, Jordan, and Comoros. The ceremony took place at the Palace of the Revolution, where the Cuban head of state received the representatives in a solemn activity and thanked them on behalf of his people for their support in the struggle against the economic, commercial, and financial blockade enforced by the United States. On Saturday, Haiti's social organizations announced that all churches in the country are closed under pressure from criminal gangs. The director of Vision for Haiti Foundation, Maxo Joseph, said that the country's churches have not been able to comply with Easter schedule due to criminal gangs demanding payments to allow churches to fulfill their activities. The religious referred that clergymen kidnapping is also a frequent practice used by gangs to raise funds. Ransom payments are estimated at between $50,000 and $100,000 US. Joseph added his voice to those calling for help from international community, but based on respect for human rights. With gangs, hunger, and cholera plunging nearly half of the population into humanitarian need, the United Nations and its partners are seeking to deliver life-saving assistance to this year to more than 3 million Haitians. According to UN Humanitarian Coordinator in Haiti, Ulrich Richardson, the full 2023 humanitarian response plan, which will be launched on April 19th, comes at a critical time. In this sense, Richardson added that this year's plan will address the most immediate humanitarian and protection needs while strengthening people's and institutions' resilience to new natural shocks. The $720 million US plan is the largest for the Caribbean countries since the devastating 2010 earthquake and more than double the amount requested last year. Violence has shaken the north-central region of Mexico this Saturday. 3 men, 3 women, and a 7-year-old boy lost their lives in the middle of a heavy gunfire incident. According to the City Council of Cortázar, a city located in the southeast of the state, the events took place around 4:30 p.m. local time in a crowded place on the North Avenue of the city. Preliminary reports indicate that it was a sicarial action, but the authorities are still investigating the case. At the scene, the owner of the commercial establishment where the events took place stated that several armed men arrived at the place and after attacking the victims fled away and took some security cameras with them. On Saturday, dozens of abortion rights supporters rallied outside the U.S. Supreme Court against the Texas judge's decision to revoke the Food and Drug Administration approval of the abortion pill mifepristone. Earlier this week, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit temporarily halted the lower court's revocation of regulatory approval, preserving access to pills containing mifepristone, but allowed the restrictions on their use to enter into force from Friday. According to Women's March, a social movement that coordinates the protests, several mobilizations will be held nationwide in the U.S. against the manipulation of the judicial system and the current political agenda against women. Rachel Larry Carmona, executive director of the movement, announced that the courts have been filled with radical politicians and added that the battle over abortion is about their rights, their families, and their future. In the United States, families of those killed in Boston Marathon bombing marked the 10th anniversary of the tragedy on Saturday by walking to the memorial sites near the finish line and laying wreaths. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, who was making her first run for city council when the bombing happened, joined the somber procession along with Governor Maura Healey at each memorial site marked with 3 stone pillars for the 3 victims. They stood with the families in silence. The Boston Marathon bombing was an attack that took place during the annual Boston Marathon on April 15, 2013. 2 brothers, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev and Tamerlan Tsarnaev, planted 2 homemade pressure cookers bombs, which detonated near the finish line of the race, killing 3 people and injuring hundreds of others, including 17 who lost their limbs. Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the South. The President of Brazil, Luis Inácio da Silva, ratified on Sunday his proposal to create a G20 for peace in Ukraine, with the participation of Latin American countries. After his visit to the United Arab Emirates, Lula da Silva called on the international community to create a group of countries to encourage peace in Kiev. Lula pointed out that the conflict was easier to build than it would be to get out of because Ukraine and Russia agreed to start it. According to the Brazilian president, the presidents of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, are not taking the initiative to achieve peace, while Europe and the United States are contributing to continue the dispute by sending arms to Ukraine. In the United Arab Emirates, the Emirates Civil Defense Authorities on Sunday reported in a statement about a fire in a residential building that killed at least 16 people and injured 9. The fire started on the 4th floor of the residential building Al Ras in Dubai, a part of the city where most of the inhabitants are foreign workers. According to the Civil Defense Corps, they reported that investigations indicate that the fire was caused by a failure to comply with safety and security conditions in the building. The Civil Defense indicated that the authorities are continuing with the pertinent investigations to determine the causes of the incident. In this regard, the authorities recalled the importance of the commitment of proprietors, residents, and owners of commercial establishments to comply with the safety and security requirements to avoid such accidents. Several hundred demonstrators gathered in Munich to celebrate the closure of Germany's last nuclear power plant. On Saturday, the last 3 nuclear reactors in operation in the country were shut down for good, while many Western nations are upping their investments in atomic energy to reduce their emissions. Germany brings an early end to its nuclear age. Europe's largest economy has been looking to leave behind nuclear power since 2002, but the phase-out was accelerated by former Chancellor Angela Merkel in 2011 after the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan. Meanwhile, Greenpeace, at the heart of the anti-nuclear movement, organized a celebratory gathering at the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin to mark the occasion.
Yes, it's really a party to celebrate the exit because today the last nuclear reactors in Germany are being shut down. I don't think that Germany will get there. In fact, It should have done it a long time ago, but unfortunately the past government did nothing for many years, or rather blocked renewable energies. We have to make up for that now so that we have enough renewable energies to ensure a secure supply.
And the worst thing is that nobody knows what to do with the nuclear waste. There is no place on Earth where it can be stored.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on Saturday resumed his election campaign activities after being evacuated unharmed from an election rally in the west of the country rocked by an explosion. Kishida was evacuated in Wakayama, where he had gone to deliver a speech in support of a local ruling party candidate. Seconds later, the detonation was heard and the place was filled with white smoke. Witnesses at the scene reported moments of panic. The minister announced that despite the event, he would participate in another public event in Chiba, near Tokyo. Local authorities confirmed a 24-year-old man from the Hyogo region was arrested. This explosion also comes less than a year after the assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe during an election rally, which shocked the country and led to increased security at these public events. On Saturday, the Group of 7 Ministers meeting on climate, energy and environment kicked off in Sapporo, Japan. This is the first ministerial-level G7 meeting to be held in the country this year, in which Japan holds the rotating presidency. Economy, Trade and Industry Minister Yasutoshi Nishimura and Environment Minister Akihiro Nishimura were present at the opening ceremony. On this occasion, energy supply stability and decarbonization efforts are on the agenda of the two-day meeting, with a major focus on whether an agreement can be reached on a timeline for ending coal power generation. The acting head of the Donetsk region, Denis Pushilin, confirmed the first grain shipments from the commercial port of Mariupol city. The senior official informed that Mariupol port is ready to use its full capacity for the import of construction materials and for grain export. According to the official, the first grain shipments will start leaving from this important port on the Sea of Azov in the next 2 weeks. Pushilin added that this will reduce the long lines of ships trading in the region. A report from the International Energy Agency details that despite Western sanctions against Russia's energy sector, the Eurasian country reached its highest level of oil exports in 3 years. According to the IEA, Russian raw oil shipments reached 8.1 million barrels daily, after reporting an increase of some 600,000 barrels a day. The report details that oil byproduct exports reached 3.1 million barrels a day, representing an increase of some 450,000 barrels daily. According to data from Kepler Monitoring Service quoted by local media, the main buyers of Russian raw oil are Turkey, India and China. In that sense, the information indicates that New Delhi and Beijing bought close to 90% of the Russian crude oil flow transported by sea during the first quarter of the year. teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat, dial 461 and enjoy a Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break, we'll be right back, don't go away. Welcome back from the south. Fierce fighting across Sudan entered a second day where at least 70 people were killed after fierce fighting erupted between the military and the rapid support forces. Clashes around the army headquarters and presidential palace in capital Khartoum involved heavy weapons. There have also been reports of battles hundreds of miles away in the eastern city of Port Sudan and in the western Darfur region. According to the Central Committee of Sudan doctors, at least 70 people have been killed and nearly 600 injured in the clashes. The battles follow rising tensions over the proposed integration of the RSF into the military. The disagreement has delayed the signing of an internationally backed agreement with political parties on a transition to democracy. Meanwhile, the African Union said it is following developments in the Republic of Sudan closely and with deep concern. In a news statement, the president of the Commission of the African Union, Musa Faki Mahamat, called for an urgent ceasefire while regretting how things have gone dangerously out of control and resort to armed violence has prevailed as a way of resolving political dispute. Mahamat further appealed to all parties, armed forces and the rapid support forces, in particular, to immediately cease the destruction of the country, the panic of the population and the bloodbath of innocent people. Likewise, the United Nations condemned the killing of three World Food Programme employees amid fighting in Sudan, stating the three died while carrying out their duties. In this sense, Volker Perthes, the head of the United Nations Integrated Transition Assistance Missions, said on Sunday that the three employees were killed in clashes in Kabila in North Darfur. A day earlier, additionally, WFP said on Sunday it had temporarily halted all operations in Sudan as long as the armed clashes continue. Also, the Rwandan President Paul Kagame met with his Beninese counterpart Patrice Talon. At the meeting, the Rwandan leader pledged military support to Benin to protect the border. Benin's foreign ministry said in a statement that Talon and Kagame discussed the relations between the two countries and the search for a strategic partnership in several areas, including security. Kagame assured his nation will provide all they can to contain spillover from conflicts across Benin's northern border with Burkina Faso. Benin last year said it was in talks over military and logistical cooperation with Rwanda. Kagame has already dispatched troops to help Mozambique and Central African Republic combat unrest. Syrian Foreign Minister Faisal al-Mekdad arrived in Algeria on an official visit as part of his Arab tour. Upon his arrival at the Houari Boumediene International Airport, Minister al-Mekdad was met by his Algerian counterpart Ahmed Attaf. The Syrian Foreign Ministry is expected to hold talks with Algerian officials aimed at strengthening bilateral relations. They are also expected to review the latest Arab and international developments. This is the first country that al-Mekdad will visit as part of his tour. He will then travel to Tunisia also to foster bilateral relations and will complete his Arab tour with a visit to Iraq. On Sunday, Sudan continues the third day in a row the prisoner exchanges between governments of Yemen and Saudi Arabia and the Houthi rebel forces. These exchanges are carried out under the coordination of the International Committee of the Red Cross as an important step towards peace in the country. According to the organization, the operations began on Sunday with the takeoff of a plane from the Yemeni capital of Sana'a to the town of Marib in the center of the country, where 107 Houthi prisoners will be exchanged for 89 government prisoners. The exchange of prisoners started on Friday with several flights between the city of Sana'a and the city of Aden. According to the International Red Cross, 375 prisoners were released in the first two exchanges. We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.